America and Russia have been interfering in each other's elections. This story started with America, but it was Russian President Putin who took control. America began lightly, but Russia took over the whole game during the American elections. This story begins with the Miss Universe pageant in November 2013. The competition was held in Crooks Hall, in the cold weather of Moscow, Russia. Venezuela's Gabriela Isler was crowned Miss Universe. You might not remember her name today, but if I tell you that one of America's biggest celebrities and business tycoons, Donald Trump, was present at this event in Moscow, it might surprise you.
It's an amazing country with so many friends in Russia, and I'm very excited to be here.
What's more surprising is that Donald Trump wasn't just attending. He was the one organizing the event in Moscow. Trump wasn't in Moscow just for the Miss Universe pageant. He was there with a bigger agenda, to build a good relationship with Russian President Vladimir Putin and expand his business empire in Russia. Trump had plans to build his iconic Trump Tower in Moscow, just like the one where he lives in the penthouse back in the US. At that time, Barack Obama was president of the United States, and no one could have imagined that a celebrity businessman like Trump could one day become the US president.
Of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Now, let's introduce another important name, the Agalarov family. This billionaire family is closely tied to Putin. Although they're not native Russians, they've done a lot of business in Russia, thanks to their connections with Putin. Trump partnered with them in hopes of securing business deals in Russia. And if you think these beauty contests like Miss Universe are simply about showcasing beauty, well, I have to salute your innocence. These events are actually big marketing gimmicks involving multinational companies promoting their businesses behind the scenes. After the Miss Universe contest, Trump posed for pictures with Miss Universe and the Agalarov family, and even signed a letter of intent to build Trump Tower in Moscow. This marked the beginning of Trump's open admiration for Putin, which only grew over time.
I knew Putin. I knew him well. Putin would give him back, yes. I think I'd have a very good relationship with President Putin.
In June 2013, Trump even tweeted, "Do you think President Putin will come to my Miss Universe pageant in Moscow? If he does, he'll be my new best friend." Although Trump made several attempts to meet Putin during the pageant, he was unsuccessful. But Trump didn't give up. He continued to push for the Trump Tower project in Moscow, despite deteriorating U.S. Russia diplomatic relations. The relationship between the U.S. and Russia kept deteriorating, especially after Russia's 2011 Duma elections, where President Putin's party, United Russia, won. The opposition accused Putin of rigging the elections, leading to massive protests in Russia. Around 60,000 people took to the streets in the freezing cold, holding banners and calling Putin names like thief and cheater. The American media started supporting these protests, and the U.S. government publicly voiced their support for the demonstrators. Putin, however, saw this as an American conspiracy. He directly blamed U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton for inciting these protests, claiming she had activated her actors on the streets of Russia. Despite the protests, Putin won the Russian presidential election in 2012 with 60% of the vote, giving a tearful victory speech in Moscow's Red Square.
We have won. Long live Russia.
However, the American and European media continued to criticize the election, calling it rigged. The Economist and the New York Times questioned Putin's legitimacy, accusing him of manipulating the election results and silencing his political opponents. In 2014, the situation escalated further with the crisis in Ukraine. Putin had always viewed Ukraine, particularly eastern Ukraine, as part of Russia's sphere of influence. In 2013, mass protests erupted against Ukraine's pro-Russian president, Viktor Yanukovych, in what was known as the Dignity Revolution. After months of protests and violent clashes, Yanukovych fled to Russia in February 2014, leaving Ukraine's government in disarray. That Putin had helped Yanukovych escape to avoid facing charges of treason. This only further strained U.S. Russia relations. Putin saw this as another example of American interference in Russia's sphere of influence, and tensions between the two countries continued to rise. Now it was Putin's turn to strike back. By 2016, the U.S. was gearing up for its own presidential election, and Putin saw an opportunity to meddle in America's political system, just as the U.S. had done in Russia and Ukraine. With the U.S. politically vulnerable, Putin decided to use a new weapon: Social media. Putin's government launched a massive online campaign, deploying armies of internet trolls and hackers to spread misinformation, discredit American political leaders, and sway public opinion in favor of Donald Trump. Social media became the battleground, with fake news, misleading stories, and Russian propaganda flooding platforms like Facebook and Twitter. In September 2015, the FBI quietly warned the Democratic National Committee, DNC, that its computer systems had been hacked. The hack was traced back to Russian hacker groups linked to the Kremlin. Despite the warning, the DNC didn't take immediate action, and by the time they realized the extent of the breach, it was too late. Russian hackers had gained access to sensitive campaign data and internal communications, including information about Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. The stolen data was eventually leaked online, damaging Clinton's campaign and giving Trump a political advantage. Meanwhile, Trump's campaign had its own ties to Russia. His campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, had spent years working closely with pro-Russian politicians in Ukraine, and other Trump associates had long-standing business connections with Russian oligarchs. One of the most sensational moments in the election came in June 2016, when Donald Trump Jr., Trump's eldest son, received an email offering damaging information about Hillary Clinton from the Russian government. The email stated that the information was part of the Russian government's effort to help Trump win the election. Rather than reporting this to the authorities, Trump Jr. responded with enthusiasm, saying, "I love it." This email exchange later became public, providing clear evidence that the Trump campaign was aware of and willing to accept help from the Russian government to win the election. As the election campaign unfolded, media began reporting on Russian interference, and concerns grew about the integrity of the election. However, Trump downplayed the accusations, mocking Clinton and her party for being unable to secure their computer systems.
This was not just extreme carelessness with classified material, which is still totally disqualifying.
Behind the scenes, Russian hackers continued to disrupt the election. They leaked embarrassing emails from the DNC, spread false information about Clinton, and used social media to manipulate voters. Meanwhile, Trump continued to praise Putin, even as allegations of Russian interference mounted. As the election heated up, rumors began to circulate about Russian intelligence having compromising information on Donald Trump. A dossier compiled by former British intelligence officer Christopher Steele claimed that, during Trump's 2013 visit to Moscow for the Miss Universe pageant, Russian spies recorded videos of Trump in compromising situations with escorts. This information, it was suggested, could be used by the Russian government to blackmail Trump if he won the presidency. The Democrats handed over this dossier to the FBI, and an investigation was launched. Although the claims were never fully substantiated, the possibility of Trump being compromised by Russia became a major talking point during the election. Adding fuel to the fire was Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks. On July 22, 2016, just one day before Hillary Clinton was set to be officially named the Democratic presidential nominee, Assange tweeted about a massive dump of internal DNC emails. These emails, provided to him by Russian hackers, revealed embarrassing details about the Democratic Party's internal workings and its bias against Bernie Sanders during the primaries. This leak became one of the biggest factors influencing the election, damaging Clinton's campaign and shifting the momentum toward Trump. Assange's actions, though supported by many free speech advocates, were widely viewed as aiding the Russian government's attempt to undermine the U.S. election. Throughout the election, Trump continued to praise Putin. He dismissed claims of Russian interference as fake news, and even went as far as saying that if Russia was behind the email hacks, it was a good thing, because they exposed the truth about the Democrats.
If Russia or China or any other country has those emails, I mean, to be honest with you, I'd love to see them. Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing.
Despite mounting evidence of Russian meddling, Trump insisted on building a strong relationship with Putin. This led many to question whether Trump was acting in America's best interests, or if he was influenced by his business ties and potential compromat held by Russia. The 2016 U.S. presidential election was one of the most controversial in American history. While Trump won the presidency, investigations into Russian interference began almost immediately. Special counsel Robert Mueller was appointed to investigate whether there was collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russian government. Mueller's investigation eventually concluded that there was significant Russian interference in the election, but it did not find conclusive evidence of collusion between Trump and Russia. However, the investigation left many questions unanswered, and the debate over Russian involvement in U.S. politics continues to this day. So this is how Russian President Putin played a major role in shaping one of the most critical elections in American history, using modern tools like social media and cyber espionage. This story is far from over, and the relationship between the U.S. and Russia continues to evolve with new developments every day. If you're interested in learning about how Saudi Arabia is preparing for a future without oil and transforming its economy through Vision 2030, I've made an exciting video for you. You can watch it now. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to Luna for more content like this. Feel free to drop a comment if you have any questions. I am your Luna, signing off.